Hey, everybody. That's my cat Mavis. She's always on my desk working, so I thought I'd have a picture of her here when I make this video for you. First of all, thank you to everybody who got their first exploratory essay in. I'm going to spend a lot of time in the next few days grading those. I've already started taking a look at them. And I'll get them back to you. I'm grading them in the order that they came in. If you are still planning to turn in your paper, please get it in as soon as you can, both so that you don't miss too many points and late penalties, but also so that you can move ahead. I don't want you to get far behind. You do need to get that paper in. I don't want you to think you can just skip it. So let me know if you're having any problems and if there's anything that I can do to help you. But now we're going to move ahead to the expanded research project. You have already laid the groundwork for this project, and now you're going to pick one of the two exploratory projects that you've begun, and you're going to dig in deeper. So let's take a look at the assignment that I've posted. Oops, we aren't there. Let's go to weekly content. And here is week 9. Okay, so the goals for the week are to get to know the expanded essay assignment and to choose which research question you'd like to expand on, and to begin researching in more depth. Okay, I'm going to want you to read the overview handout. And the proposal assignment. You're watching the video right now, and I'm going to want you to start doing some research this week. So you have two assignments due this Friday. Your third proposal, which I'll talk about in a minute, another source analysis worksheet on any kind of source that answers your question. And then if you choose to revise the first exploratory essay, that assignment is due this Friday. Make sure you read the optional revision assignment that explains what's required, including a little self-appraisal, self-evaluation piece for me to read. Okay, but let's talk about this overview of the expanded essay project. You'll want to know this handout really, really well. I'm going to go over a few things here. So this video is not a substitute for reading the assignment. You still need to read the assignment really carefully. We're going to continue to work on the goals that I've identified earlier this semester, beginning with continuing to frame your research question, locating, evaluating, and reading sources. Remember, not just using Google, but also using library databases. We're going to talk more about note-taking, and then we're going to talk about building arguments based on information that you've gotten from your research. Because the next paper you write, the next essay that you write will be a persuasive one now. We'll continue to talk about effectively incorporating quotations, paraphrase, and summary into your writing. You should have watched the video on that last week and read a couple of sources on that the week before. We're also going to continue to work on responding to reader feedback, including your peers' feedback, and then the writing stuff. Okay? In this little table here, I have listed the assignments that are coming up. You can see there's a lot of little things over the next 6 weeks leading to this revised essay, okay? So what this means is that you'll have lots of opportunity to get feedback from me and from Bill, so that you will see that you're heading in the right direction, all right? You won't be doing this all on your own, and you won't be doing it at the very last minute. This will all lead to a 6 to 10 page persuasive research essay, okay? So by now, you should have researched at least a couple opposing viewpoints, multiple perspectives on your topic, and you should continue an open-minded exploration. You should still not totally have your mind made up. You should still be open to multiple viewpoints. In a few more weeks, when we get to this prospectus down here at the beginning of November, that's the first time I'm going to want to know your position. So you still have a few weeks to figure out where you stand based on the research that you do. Let your research, your honest inquiry, inform your position instead of only cherry picking sources that you agree with. That's really important. Okay, so let's look at this week. In the original schedule at the back of the syllabus, I had said that I was requiring a conference this week. I'm not going to do that. But I will recommend that you set up another virtual conference if you really feel lost, if you don't know which exploratory essay that you want to revise or expand on, I should say. If you have any questions at all, feel free to go to the usual link. It's in my email signature. It's at the top of the syllabus, and I've put it in a bunch of announcements. and you can set up an appointment so that we can talk. Originally, I was going to have your proposal and SAW 7 due at your conference this week, but instead, the conference is just recommended, not required. And your proposal and source analysis worksheet number 7 will be due at the end of the week. So you have a week to figure out what you want to do. Okay. Next week, we'll be focusing on more research. You will have 2 more source analysis worksheets due. Both of next week's source analysis worksheets need to be on OneSearch sources, so keep working on your database skills, and one of them will need to be on a scholarly journal article. Okay, there'll be a couple little process and discussion assignments along the way. In a couple of weeks, 2.5 weeks, you are going to have to figure out most of the sources that you're planning to use, at least 5, and you're going to put together a formal works cited list with an introduction that explains how you plan to use your sources. Most of your research should be done at that point. So when you're watching this, it should be October 11th, hopefully. So that means you have 2.5 weeks or so to get the bulk of your research done. That sounds like a long time perhaps, but please don't procrastinate. Okay, and then the next small formal assignment will be a prospectus. This is where I'm going to ask for a preview of your argument. A 1-page summary of what you plan to say in your paper. This is where I will ask for your position, your thesis statement, and your reasoning to back it up. Okay, and then by November 9th, about a month, you'll need to have a draft of your essay. You will exchange that with peers. I will facilitate that, and you'll do a peer workshop. I will facilitate all of that for you and make it very workable. With the same draft, I will meet with you to talk about it and give you some feedback on it. Okay, all of that is coming up, and the revised essay will be due in about 6 weeks, November 17th. That's 200 points. So there's a lot of points in these little steps and then the big paper on the line here. So I hope that you get off to a strong start. All right, so read over all of this more carefully. As always, get in touch with me if you have more questions. Now, I want to talk to you about how you decide which one of your papers you want to turn into an expanded research project, okay? You might already know, you might already have a really clear idea of what paper you want to expand on, what research project you want to continue. I want you to remember that it isn't as easy as just taking your existing paper and then adding to the end of it. It doesn't quite work that way necessarily. You probably will need to revamp that paper to meet the new requirements. That paper was informative. The upcoming paper will be persuasive. So you'll be adapting to it. So for that reason, you don't necessarily have to pick the paper that you got a better grade on. I've given you a list of 5 things to consider as you pick which research question to expand on. And the most important is which one has the most potential for doing good college research. If you feel like you kind of hit a dead end with the other one, with one of them, then pick the other one. Okay? Which one do you think should grow into a 7 to 10 page persuasive essay? I just realized I said 7. It's really 6. 1,800 words will be the word count, which in most of you will be able to do in about 6.5 pages or so. Okay, which question is the right size and scope for this kind of paper? Which would you like to spend more time with this semester? Which sustains your interest? Which one will allow you to eventually come to an informed position? Will you be able to argue? Will you be able to be persuasive? And then finally, think about your readers too. Which will they want to know more about? Okay, I also want you to remember that your research question has very likely evolved since the first time you submitted it to me. So when you do a new proposal on your research question, it's okay if that research question is slightly different. In most cases, your research question has gotten more specific. It's gotten narrower. An example, should the government do more to increase voter turnout? That's a good question to start with. By now, you may have decided already to narrow it, or maybe you'll decide in the next couple of weeks to narrow it down to a specific thing they could do. Should Election Day be a federal holiday? Okay, so that's a totally normal part of the process. Your research question can definitely change and be refined. All right, let's talk about source requirements. Most of your research will be done during these next 3 weeks. Again, you should still have an open mind and look for good sources. Don't cherry pick only the ones that you agree with already. You must have in your tentative works cited list assignment and the final essay a bare minimum of 5 good college level sources. Don't slack on your sources. At least 2 of the sources must be from OneSearch, and at least 1 must be an article from a scholarly journal. Again, these are bare minimums. So of those 5 sources, at least 2 must come from OneSearch, and at least 1 of those should be a scholarly journal article. In order to find those really good, strong sources, you should plan to read at least 8 to 10 additional sources over the next couple of weeks, and that's a minimum, okay? Continue to evaluate those sources carefully. If I commented on your exploratory essay that I thought your sources were weak, if I said that in your source analysis worksheets, you might need to step up your evaluation game and continue to have really high standards. Look at who wrote these sources. What are their credentials? What kind of publications published these sources? What is the about us of the website or the magazine that you're looking at? Okay, continue to hold yourself to high standards. Avoid websites that are designed to help students cheat or similar sites like that, super basic ask me kinds of sites. Use your best judgment, and if you have any questions at all, make sure you email me or Bill or set up an appointment. We're happy to help you. In addition to those 5 sources, you could also use interviews or audiovisual materials. Just let me know if you have any questions about that. Make sure that you're taking very good notes through all of this. That's not something I emphasized enough in the first half of the semester. Taking good notes is going to help you retain information, and it's going to keep you organized. And then ask for help when you need it, as I've said. On page 3, I've given you some advice that I want you to read over. Please don't skip this, okay? This is the kind of stuff that would normally be in a textbook, and I didn't want to make you buy a textbook this semester, so I'm crystallizing a lot of important information down to bare essentials. Please read over this really carefully. And then in the last page of this handout is advice from my previous English 102 students when they had a very similar project to work on. Okay, so that's the expanded handout that I'd like you to work on. Now let's talk about the proposal assignment. That's due at the end of this week, Friday night. And you know with any of these deadlines that if you need more time, all you need to do is ask. You also know that with the informal part of the class, you can miss up to 35 points without it hurting your grade. So if some of those discussion or journal assignments get to be too much, you can be selective in what you decide not to do, knowing that you can miss a few things without penalty. Let's go back to this proposal. The proposal assignment is very similar to the 2 that you've already done, okay? I've already mentioned some of this stuff about how your research question that you tell me about this time might be a little bit different from the version I've seen before, but it should be a version of one of the 2 exploratory paper questions that you worked on before. It shouldn't be something brand new. You're expanding. Okay? Your proposal will commit you to your topic. If you feel that you need to change your topic after you submit your proposal, you'll need to talk to me and convince me that it's really necessary, and you'll need to do a new proposal. So the proposal, in at least 250 words typed, should provide evidence that you've been thinking more about your topic and where you can go with it. Here are the requirements. In clear and organized writing, it should contain your research question, a brief synopsis of where you think you can take your research from here, things you want to explore, and or at least 3 new sub-questions that you plan to investigate. Why you picked it. I'm just curious. Why you think potential readers will be interested. This is a new thing I'm asking you to think about. And cite at least 1 source that you've consulted since you turned in your exploratory essay. Don't recycle an old one. Show me you're doing more research. Okay? Remember that you should have in-text citations as well. Don't plagiarize. Any information that comes from sources needs to be properly cited. Any words that come from sources need to be in quotation marks. That's always and forever true in this class. That's the assignment. Now, if the steps get to feel like too much, if you need more time, seriously, all you need to do is ask me. I want you to succeed. I want you to do well. I am willing to give you a little flexibility with occasional deadlines as long as you don't get behind. again, I want you to succeed. So reach out to me or to Bill if you have any questions at all. Have fun with this research. I hope that you enjoy looking deeper into your question.